This is a Metastatic off-grid communicator. Check the previous video on how it was made and how it works. On what principle in this video, as promised, we move to PCB and add an antenna connector. We use a blank PCB because nothing complicated is necessary. We use this antenna connector to better understand this PCB design. We can compare it to a protoboard. The principle is identical. We will cut the traces in the middle to get two sets of pins left and right to begin. We need to desolder and separate into individual components, carefully removing wire by wire to make it cleaner and more proper. We need to add pins to all components. But we remove the plastic to keep it compact on the board. I use a board to keep everything straight carefully. Removing the contacts from the LoRa module. We do the same with the ESP32. I heat it and tap it as the most efficient way to remove solder. I add pins to the ESP32 as well. Again, I use the protoboard trick. Now comes planning and designing the board. Now that we determine the position, we solder the ESP32. First, we solder the corners, so we can adjust it more precisely. We place the display and solder it to the board. Since the LoRa module has smaller standard pins, we work around it with wires, with one pin to GND. We connect it to the board with a file. We cut the traces into left and right. We smooth the top side with sandpaper. I think the connector is best placed there. We connect it as shown in the first video. We connect the GND first and determine which traces we need to use. Of course, we add GND to the antenna. Also, we need to send voltage. the desired pins, we drill holes to route wires from the LoRa module to the ESP32. Honestly, I am not a fan of this kind of work. Maybe if there is demand, I'll make a professional PCB with one of the sponsors which I won. He mentioned until I get a contract. The first test is successful. Again, I drill holes for wires from the module. When everything is connected, it should look like this. Honestly, due to my mistake, I damaged one ESP32. But I had a spare and continued the project with sand the bottom side. With wide electrical tape, I protect the side with wires. Of course, everything needs to be carefully tucked. And thanks for watching.